Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat, and you can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter, and you can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. And those sound effects you hear are provided by none other than the man, the myth, the legend, our homeboy in Brooklyn, one agent _70.
What's up, everybody?
Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at?
And you can find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's cspn.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither almost had it. Cold Slither Podcast Network SoundCloud page. You won't find us on Quibi because, let's face it, that's dying anyway, and we're not that big.
Oh, no.
That was a whole thing. It's kind of sad, but anyway. Tonight, folks, we bring you another week of comic book goodness. And we're going to start off with the books of the week. And starting off with Ten of Swords, Stasis, number 1. Now, actually, I was going to mention this before the show. God damn it, I know I forgot something. I was going to mention this before the show, but I was going to ask, like, was the reasoning behind the naming of Stasis apparent to you as the title?
Honestly, no.
Good. That means that I'm not the only one.
I mean, I didn't really give it too much thought, to be perfectly honest.
Right.
I mean, now you're making me curious to see if there are any alternative definitions that I'm maybe not aware of.
Exactly, because I'm sitting here because obviously we've seen alpha issues, omega issues, preludes, praises, posters, that kind of stuff like that. But it was like that's.
Oh, you know what? I think I see it.
Okay.
I think I see it. So I'm going to double check with Merriam-Webster just because sometimes I'm not always keen on relying upon Google. No offense, Google. Because I know you're listening. So
they might be. They ain't no mic. They definitely
are. I was about to say we are on the web.
We are, and we're on YouTube, so that's especially true.
Exactly. So
which, by the way, while he's pulling that up, I forgot to mention, hey, we're streaming live. If you didn't already know, or you're catching this after the fact, we stream live on YouTube every week, and also Twitch. So that's twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles, and youtube.com/TheClickNation. That's DKLIQNATION, all one word. So I got to remember to put that in there. So what's the deal?
All right. So according to Merriam-Webster, stasis is kind of what we are accustomed to understanding as the definition, a slowing or stoppage or a state of static balance or equilibrium, or a state or period of stability during which little or no evolutionary change in a lineage occurs. But according to the Google dictionary definition, the second formal definition of stasis is civil strife, which applies in this case.
Yeah.
So that's, it's weird that it's not listed in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. I wonder if I would have to maybe take a look at further, but you would think it would be here under noun. But in any event, maybe that's the definition that Tini Howard and Jonathan Hickman are using when they named this chapter Stasis.
Maybe. Shout out to them for that. Because like I said, it was like I didn't think about it up until I read it. Because I figured, like, well, clearly there's going to be some reason in there why it's called this, and I was like, no, they're not really. But there's like, well, clearly there's an alternate reason, but I had not checked it out, so I figured, there you go. But let's get into the story proper here, and talk about basically what happens, which, in some respects, not much, but enough. So we already found out that we've already gotten to this point where the Krakoans have gotten their swords. This pretty much was the Araco folk getting their swords in this issue, and we also get a nice, neat, not so surprising revelation at the end that we'll get to in a second. But like I said, the crux of this was pretty much the Araco side getting their swords, and we see their prophecies, and we do get a little bit from obviously the X-Men and the Krakoan side. Apocalypse is rousing pep talk.
Right.
But so here's
I was about to say General Patton. He's not, right?
Yeah. It's like Mike Lowry was saying, Bad Boys. You might want to work on that. Like Phil Jackson. I think that was Bad Boys. Yeah, I feel like it's like he was the gold standard in pep talks.
That's funny.
But yeah, so that's pretty much what. Now, so here is the ultimate question, and that I thought was going to be answered in this question. So, one, we know the Krakoans got their swords. We know. I need to go back and look at the prophecies, but we got 9 swords. It's supposed to be 10.
Right. The 10th one ended up being Gorgon, I think.
No, there's still 9 with Gorgon.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Because I counted. I made sure I counted when they got. Can you remember when they were all assembled? I made sure I counted. Like even with Apocalypse.
I thought Gorgon was the one they left out.
I thought so too, but it was like no, there's still 9 people. So it either. And I was thinking like maybe there's going to be a reveal at the end of this issue. But all of Araco people have all 10 of their swords. So it's weird, and I don't know if that's something. Like I'm assuming it's intentional for a reason that we still haven't come across yet, but no one's called attention to it yet. So that part right there was something
making me curious. Like now I'm gonna go look at the circle again.
Yeah. Like I counted it twice. Like even when they were first assembled, and when you see the split of the Araco and them, unless I'm totally was blind and missing something, because I did read that right before I went to sleep, but I don't think I am.
No, I don't think so, because at least in the character, one thing that
too
that's consistent with your count is the very first, the introduction page that shows you characters that are appearing in the book, and it only shows the 9 sword bearers that we know of to date, including Gorgon.
Right.
So
I was like, okay, so it's going to be 9 against 10, or someone's doubling up, or what's that all about? And like I said, that's why I want to go back and check the prophecies, because I feel like all of the prophecies are also accounted for, and the tarot cards at that. Unless...
Wait, so there's a 10th. Wait, so there's a 10th spot though.
Right.
There is a 10th spot that's empty. So that means that, as you said, there's probably going to be an additional entrant.
But nobody called attention to it either. So like I'm surprised. Like there's at least 2 or 3 people on the Krakoan side who would have called attention to that. But no one did. So that part right there was like, okay. But yeah, like I said, I suspect there's going to be a last minute entrance, and I'm hoping. I don't know. I went through this issue thinking, like, especially when they got back to the prophecies, and the revelation of the tarot cards again, or the re-revelation of the tarot cards again, I guess, or at least when the Krakoans realize about it, or have been given them, that most of the cards in themselves they all have a meaning, but I'm hoping for at least 1 or 2 that don't actually mean death. And I'm not even talking about the one the person who actually got the death card, because that card didn't seem like seemed like they were going to be cause and not be the effect, or be the end result, but we don't know. But at least with that coverage, we know that person's at least going to be around next year.
Oh no.
So, yeah.
I was gonna add that just before you move on, I'm definitely going to need to read more of the data pages on these realms,
Yes.
as well as some of the data pages I may have skimmed through that appeared in prior issues of this crossover.
Right, and they totally got all of those out of the way before going into this chapter. I guess for that reason, so this book wouldn't be overloaded with all that with data dumps of the folks that
Right,
get
and
mentioned here.
seeding. Right, I was about to say seeding some of the information like in the depths of your memory. Be like, oh, so that's where this person might be from. I can go back and look at that. So, talk about making it a little easier to read in collected format.
Yeah. Definitely these. I'm actually I'm kind of wondering about that. Like, are they going to, because it's 22? Are they going to like do two? Well, it's probably going to be what, 3 volumes or 4 volumes? I would imagine if they do it.
Well, it depends. If they do it in extra size, they might just do it in 2.
That's what
cut
I
it
was
in
thinking. Yeah,
kind-
like 2 11s. Yeah, or
Right. Kind of the way we've been reading. Well, it's kind of where we've gotten to the point where this is literally the halfway point.
Right.
So, as I think we were talking about this off the air just prior to coming on, this is literally the halfway point to the crossover. So we have gotten through most of, as Roddykat just noted, that we apparently still need one more sword bearer from Krakoa, but we've gotten through most of the sword acquisition questing in the first half of the story, and now we're going to get to the tournament in the second half.
Right.
So it seems like a very natural place to create the ending of a volume.
Mm-hmm. And I suspect that whoever that 10th swordsman person probably again is probably going to come in with some sort of flair, I would imagine, and then sometime after that we'll get the quest. This story has not been shy about pacing itself in a certain way.
Right.
So yeah, because it looks like we'll probably get the sword bearer first and some action, and then probably the next issue we'll get like however they got it. I could be wrong about that, but who even knows? But like I said, this doesn't strike me as the way this has been paced together. It doesn't strike me that's not how they're going to do it. Wouldn't be surprising one way or the other. So, but for the most part, like I said, that is the crux of this issue. The Krakoans end up going to other world. There's some banter between. Well, it's not even banter, but basically Saturnine is doing most of the talking here because it's her world and her rules and nothing like that, and the Krakoans know it, and it was even noted by Storm.
Right.
We treat everything as hostile until we figure out what's the deal.
Absolutely.
And then Saturnine gives them their cards, and some folks are not very well pleased, whilst others are with their cards. There's a couple of them there were a couple of tarot cards that were kind of curious. Actually, one in particular that was kind of curious, and that was Cypher's.
Right. Although what's funny about Cypher's card is that I guess because based on the story, I kind of presume that he might be making a connection with one of the Arakoans.
That was my thought also.
Who speaks to Arakko.
Right.
And, we'll see how that goes. That's a minor spoiler for this book. But if you are listening to this now, hopefully you have made it through the bulk of the first 11 chapters of 10 of Swords.
Indeed.
I would add that I think we touched on this, or you might have mentioned it. We also learn more about where Arakko sits in the Council of Realities, I guess, under Saturnine.
I did not, but that's a good point. Yes.
So there is, they've essentially become they've actually taken over a separate reality, apparently, or dimension. I'm not sure. Listen, we've been dealing with lots of, War of the Realms, and now we've got 10 of Swords dealing with other realities, and it's just there's very much a jumble of realities swirling around in my head when it comes to remembering what's happening in the 616. But ultimately, this particular reality was overthrown, basically destroyed, and basically left a seat open on this council, and the Arakoans basically took the
Right.
seat over, so that they would have a say in in whatever happened in the Starlight Citadel.
Right, and that whole thing when they were in council, and actually it is basically one of the realms of Otherworld that they just pretty much came in, encroached on, and took over. Like you said, they killed everybody off and just took it over. So it has been annexed into Araco uh, under that in order for them to get in. I assume that was the reason under, but I know they slowly and surely trying to take over, parts of other worlds in order to get to Earth in the first place, which is why this whole thing kind of came about partially.
Right.
But yeah, that was pretty much the reasoning, or pretty much the cause and effect there of that. So as they were going through councils, like yeah, they were there, but and matter of fact, it wasn't even just them. It was like them, and there was another set of ambassadors that was there who hadn't really apparently said anything
Hmm.
that no one knows about, that Saturnine herself doesn't even know about, that just happen to be there. And I assume we're going to hear something about them at some point also. Because
Over the next 11 chapters of the
exactly.
story.
Yeah.
So I guess before we wrap, something that Roddykat mentioned about, I guess something that we expect, something that might have been expected happening at the end of this issue. I like to call this, as a fan of the This Is Us show, Apocalypse has a This Is Us style reunion with someone he thought
no.
lost to him.
Yes.
So I'll leave it at that without spoiling too much.
Right. But it's, I mean, this person has been brought up as recently as last issue, so it wasn't that big of a surprise, except
Right.
for to him. In this, at least in
Exactly.
this respect.
Exactly. That's the surprise that's sprung at the end of this issue. So, as we said, this is the halfway point of Ten of Swords. We hope that you're enjoying the ride, and we'll see where we go in the in the second half of the story.
And we hope that it not only continues to be engaging and sticks to landing. I don't,
Let's hope so.
I mean, between Hickman and Tiny Howard, I suspect that shouldn't be a problem. But
Right.
you never know nowadays.
Right. And I also have this feeling that our recommendation is going to hold up throughout anyone's reading of this story, which is to pay attention to it's not back matter, it's data. The data pages that are sprinkled throughout these issues, they may not seem relevant right away, because we have seen these data pages sprinkled into chapters that don't necessarily have anything to do with what's in the data pages, but they end up becoming relevant later on. So please bear that in mind. You may have to do some backtracking just to make sure that you are on board with, or at least familiar with, what weapon may be in somebody's hand. Put it that way.
Oh, and speaking of that, and I will go on that note, I will just say one. There is that Ten of Swords handbook that came out last week that pretty much is the old hot for this event. So
Gotcha.
that is something to check out as well. And I assume some of that was going to have the swords that were brought up that were just introduced in this issue of Stasis. But I'm pretty sure it's already had all of that stuff. But also, there was some pretty sweet swords. I have to say, there's been some pretty sweet swords that have shown up during this during this event, which actually reminds me of another book that I read this week that I'll talk about. That I hope that I'll remember when I talk about in a little bit. That being said, let us move on.
The reason why I forget about the handbook is because I never got my my physical copy. I'm waiting on my book to come in. So hopefully, although we did get a copy on our own.
Right.
So.
I skimmed. I think, matter of fact, I think I mentioned it last week on the show. Like I could skim through it while we're doing the show, and it's like, yeah, it's pretty much what you think it is.
Yep.
So that being said, but yeah, so check that out regardless. And I would imagine, and that is that's another, because I don't think that book is probably going to be. I would suspect that book's not going to be counted in the trade.
Chapters? No. Oh,
Yeah.
in the trade? Well,
Right.
You never know.
I doubt it. I mean, especially with the data pages. Like, I mean, maybe there'll be a special section for some of it, but I doubt that whole thing is going to be in there.
It might be in like the deluxe. It may not be in like the regular copy.
Perhaps.
They'll probably put it in like the deluxe hardcover. Like to make it supposedly more worthwhile.
Right. Or if they do happen to break it up into more than one trade, like break it up into 4 trades or something like that. For some reason, they could do it that way if they so
They
choose.
could do that. They could do that. Come to think of it, they could do that because it could be like 5 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
Like or 6 and then 5 and then the handbook.
Yep.
And those will be, but that's my point. Like those will be like the regular like 6-issue trades. Like the smaller ones.
Right.
We all know, all the listeners and viewers know that all of these companies come up with different ways to package these books so that you feel like you need to buy them again. So we will see in what form this story is republished.
True enough. So let us move on to the next book. Amazing Spider-Man number 51. How about?
Amazing 51. Sounds good to me. All right.
There we go.
Okay, so the writer on this is Nick Spencer. Pencils and inks by Patrick Gleason and colors by Edgar Delgado. In very broad strokes, Spidey and Doctor Strange fend off a possessed Silk. This is picking immediately up on the events of both last issue and the 50-point LR Last Rites.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently Spidey isn't completely honest with Doctor Strange about all of his intentions. We also find out that Doctor Strange has an ominous face.
I noted the exact same thing.
In this issue, we get a guest star appearance by the Black Cat, who has a role to play that's reminiscent of her recent adventures in her own title. And finally,
was actually even mentioned in a roundabout way.
She brings it right up.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the issue, we find out that Kindred reveals his quote dinner party plans to Spidey.
Yeah.
I mean, part of this is definitely spoiler territory, but we're definitely, I'm definitely kind of keeping it very broad strokes. If you are keeping up with this mini event, as it were, within the pages of Amazing Spider-Man, I hope that you pick up on the fact that this is definitely bringing in more characters to help Spidey deal with this particular threat that's a little over his head. So,
yeah, I am slightly curious about, and there was a little razzle dazzle going on in there, and I'm kind of curious as to. Like, you see Doctor Strange kind of picking up on it, but not to the extent of where you would think he would just see through it all, especially with the Eye of Agamotto.
right.
So I'm slightly curious about how Spidey pulled that off, but at the same time, that whole thing went off. So like, okay, that went off pretty nicely. I was kind of slightly surprised and about that, but at the same time, like when Felicia came in, I was like, okay, well, here we go.
I mean, I was surprised that he had time to do that. I think that's the biggest thing that stuck out in my head. Like, wait, he had time to do this and then see Doctor Strange? Okay.
Exactly, and that was another thing, because they go back about, because they definitely go back about that part. It's like, well, because in the last couple of issues, like, we see what's been happening since Ravencroft and the Sin Eater thing, and he was clearly on the run. But at the same time, even when he got to Doctor Strange, he had a little bit of time before folks started attacking him, or in this particular issue or to Silk. But yeah, the fact that he had time to just like drop off somewhere else and be like, hey, look, I need you for something. Like, that's kind of weird, but it's comics, so and as much as I hate to do it, I have to put it on that. Comic timing is a weird animal,
right?
So, but last note on it that I'm just gonna say on the side note was like Kindred channels the police in Sting, because he basically says every step you take, every move you make, I'll be watching you. But he actually doesn't say it like that, but it's you can
That's
feel
the
the
gist.
channel. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say it didn't pop up in my head. That's what happens to me all the time. So that's funny.
So I was like, all right, we see you, Kindred. For some stupid reason, I don't want to, even though we know the identity of Kindred, and even though Spidey doesn't, or at least he's claiming he doesn't at this point, which he probably doesn't. Right. But he has no real reason to know it actually at this point. But yeah, it's like, yeah, I see you, Kindred. And it's also cool. One of the things like, wait. Technically you're old enough to know that reference, but at the same time, comic timelines is what it is, and the way this is like, all right, I don't know, would he actually know that? Given whatever, but regardless, none of that even matters. But yeah, like Agent 70 says at the end of this book, we see what starts to be the culmination of Kindred's and Spidey's meeting on a dinner party with some not so lively guests.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So, and I imagine Spidey's not going to take too well to seeing that. Well, he's already seen it, but that's not going to sit too well with him come the next issue, which I think is a point LR issue, if I'm not mistaken. It's like the 51 LR. I thought I saw. I remember.
I don't have the solicitations in front of me. The Point LR issue looks like it still has the members of the Spider Friends, the whatchamacallit,
the Order, yeah.
The Order of the Web.
Yeah, but you know how sometimes that goes, though.
Right. I mean, they might delve just slightly into what Spidey's reaction to this is, but it may just very well be what they've told us their intentions are, which is to focus on everyone else in those Point LR issues.
So yeah, let's see. So it's the 51 LR coming up, and then 52 after that. So yeah,
right. Like 50. I mean, the main issues. When I say the main issues, I mean the ones that aren't labeled Last Rites are the ones that are supposed to focus upon Spidey's story. So we'll see if they hold off on dealing with Spidey's reaction to this dinner party until 52, or if we see it in the 51 point LR issue. That's going to be out next week.
Right, and actually, from what I'm looking at the back of the book, the 52 and 52 LR are both going to be on the same date, if that holds up.
Right.
So we'll, one way or the other, we will be getting it in the next couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so if we're done with that one, we can move on to another one. You want to pick a book?
What's next?
I'll tell you what's next. Immortal Hulk number 39.
Oh, yes.
Immortal Hulk number 39, written by Al Ewing with pencils by Joe Bennett and inks by, as I get my spreadsheet to scroll back down, inks by Rui, Jose, and Bellardino Bravo. This is a potential click of the week for me as we learn more about the leader's actions to this point, involving Brian Banner, the Green Door, and invading Bruce's psyche. Al Ewing is utilizing all of the Hulk's multiple personalities that have been established in continuity. If you didn't know that by now, you're a little late to the party. But for those of you who are thinking about dipping your toe into this story, please note that you don't necessarily have to know all of this stuff, but it's definitely out there for you to peruse and see where all this is, basically came from, and how Ewing is putting a lot of this stuff together. He's using all of these multiple personalities that have been established in continuity to tell a great story that right now is completely within Bruce's mind, with some amazing art that's surrounding the Devil Hulk. Also, as a note, I'll let Roddykat chime in on this, but I would note that maybe Alpha Flight has their own space station that isn't the Peak.
So that goes back to that, and yes, that I think that is that's been established, or at least I think we can safely say that's the case.
That's
now
the case.
confirmed. That's the case now. Yeah. because what we've seen in the recent issues of X-Men and whatnot, that the peak is kind of on it, which, again, as we have said in past episodes, like we thought the peak and Alpha Flight was on the same station because that was the only one we knew up there as far as we knew.
Right. I mean, we don't know if this was established in the pages of Captain Marvel, which makes sense.
I believe it might have been, but I don't remember it honestly.
Exactly. Neither of us have been following that book that closely, so it may have been established in one of the more recent Captain Marvel runs. So,
no. I was reading it when it was established, when she was ahead of Alpha Flight, but I don't remember if they specifically said, because you even saw Abigail Brand there, and I'm sitting here like, well, clearly this is the peak. But I don't think they actually
a separate station. Yes.
Right, but they never said whether it was a separate station or not. But again, that would probably be something to kind of go back and check on it, because I know specifically that I was reading it at the time. I was like, okay, and we just took as what it was as being that's the peak, when it clearly was not the case.
Right.
But yeah, all I'm pretty much going to say is that Bruce's dad makes a deal with the wannabe devils, who's, by the way, some pretty good machinations going on that part, because he's, and as I think Agent 70 will appreciate this, what I say in my notes. Bruce's dad makes a deal with a wannabe devil who wants to be in the room where it happens with a bigger devil. And we also see, the where the leader pulled his current form, well, or at least part of his current form, at least going into this issue from, because he was basically using the form of a Hulk, in the Mindscape. I guess we don't fully do it because we don't know, like, whether he could just. Well, we know the leader is able to possess Gamma folks at this point in a way, and now that he is in possession of some new information thanks to Bruce's dad. He really gobbled up all that information, some would say.
Yeah, literally.
Yes.
I would also add that the leader comes right out and says that he's mixing science and the occult. And this is something that most Marvel readers will associate with one Victor Von Doom, but it is not that surprising. Right. Not that surprising at all that one of the other evil super geniuses would do something very similar. Not to the extent that Vic can do it, because obviously Victor Von Doom is much closer to Doctor Strange level capability than the leader is, but it's no surprise that someone who is an affirmed evil genius would look to meld both science and magic, which is science that's just not understood yet, right?
Exactly, and that's the thing that's been established, not just in this world, but just in the world, in general. It's like, yes, science is indistinguishable as magic in a certain realm, and I know they've said it in books before, and even just out in other media.
It was in the Thor movie.
Yeah, so.
Yes,
exactly.
I was about to say, shout out to Binge Mode, the popular podcast that is back doing a binge through the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the and some of the related comics and whatnot. So nice. They're up to the Incredible Hulk. So they're only 2 movies in. So feel free. Shout out to Mal and Jason. So nice. not that they need a free plug, but I'm definitely a fan.
Yes, we've established that already. Yeah, I mean, I have to check them out. If I do actually, even if I don't do a rewatch, but
because you already watched all these movies, so.
Well, I know, but I'm saying, but I haven't rewatched them like recently, and I'm probably not going to. But I'm just saying, if I happen to, like, who knows? One of these days I get around to do it after I finish Clone Wars or something, sure. Or any of the numerous anime that I'm trying to start up. But anyway,
I was about to say, don't remind me about the animes that I started and like kind of stopped on like the 5th episode. So
that was halfway the reason for that.
I need to get back to my list. This is my notebook, folks, for for Comic Book Chronicles stuff. I have my list of anime that I still have to watch. So.
But that's being the case, yeah. Like the only thing I was gonna say about the leader in that journey that you just mentioned is like, yeah, he's kind of at the beginning of that. I don't know if he's gonna go any further with it because obviously he's kind of singular in his thought patterns at this point, or in his motivations. but yeah, it's gonna take him a while to get to, even if he were up to wanting to trying to get to like Doom's level of mixing science and magic.
Right.
So
And it's funny that do you have anything else on this book?
nah, that's pretty much it. Also, there is a loss in this book that we see, but given the way some things play out, we don't know if it's a permanent loss or, but well, we feel relatively strongly that it's a permanent loss, but we'll see in the incoming issues.
Right. That's a good point. Excellent point. I was just going to add that because binge mode is up to, they just dropped, I think, the Incredible Hulk episode last night / today. That because I was listening to it while I was making dinner, and what's funny is that they mentioned that obviously the MCU doesn't bring too much of the Incredible Hulk movie forward, other than Thunderbolt Ross. But one thing that was never picked up on was Samuel Stearns, aka the leader, who plays such a role in this Immortal Hulk story. So that's probably why it immediately jumped to mind when we were talking about this.
Right. And I will say that there's probably a nugget of news that will, that speaking of what you just mentioned, might have something to do. That might
Okay.
be, might be an allusion to that, let's just say. But moving right along, we will get to another book. I guess we have one more book before we hit wrap it.
Yeah, I mean, we have probably 2 more books in common, both Shang-Chi and Strange Academy.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like this week we both read the same Marvel, but we diverged when it came to some of the other stuff that we read.
So actually, let's do Strange Academy, because I feel like that book needs to be talked about a lot more than it probably does.
Than it probably is, you mean? Like in terms
probably,
of like the popular attention that it might be getting?
Right.
All right. Well, it's written by Scotty Young, with art by Humberto Ramos and colors by Edgar Delgado. The students, this is hysterically funny. The students are playing door tag, and you have to take a minute to figure out what they mean. And the places you might die when you play door tag.
Very nice. Very nicely done.
It seems that Zelma has picked up some magic.
Oh no,
as
she's
the
been
librarian of school.
Yeah, she's been done that though. I mean, she's shown some acumen even in Strange's book.
I don't remember it as much, but definitely more so than what I remember. The point of view character Emily seems to have picked up a quote unquote friend, and I say that in quotes, and I stress that because we don't know what this friend / creature's motivations are just yet. And Emily's also delving into some mysteries. Meanwhile, an external threat called the Hollow from the swamps and bayous around New Orleans also presents itself.
Yeah, that's pretty much that. And I'll just go on my notes and say, which will probably cover the same, some of the little bit of the same ground. But this is a potential click of the week for me. And I would say you can't have a magic school full of kids without having antagonistic cultists going after them. That would be the Hollow that the Hollows that Agent 70 just mentioned. Jesse seems to know more about Zoe than what Zoe was hiding up until now than any of us realized. But it looks like that secret has now come out, which is interesting.
Yep.
And I would like to see the backstory for this, which I'm assuming is going to happen at some point when that gets revealed to everybody, because it's going to. Maybe even next issue, since they finally brought it up. But anyway, and suddenly a game of magic tag breaks out in the library, which should not have been the case. But because Zelma's a cool librarian. A couple of cameos pop up, like Spider-Man and some Last Guardians. And as Agent 70 kind of mentioned, there was a trip through a couple of the realms, and especially with what he's saying, the places you might die, they end up in, Emily almost takes an L right off the bat from the first door. which leads to one of the cameos. But then they all end up in a weird world where she meets up to this thing, this cat beast thing. But meanwhile, Zelma and the kids in the library are dealing with a big problem of their own. And speaking of problems, Emily meets a cat beast in Weird World, like I just said, that most assuredly won't cause any problems ever.
No, of course not.
No, ever. Because that's clearly not.
It's a magic-based story. Of course not. You meet something random while you jump through a door playing door tag. Of course it's not going to make any problem.
Exactly. And they ended up, one of those doors ended up, actually after she come across this cat beast, ended up coming to... let's just say, in the midst of the realm of the person whose academy this is named for. And there's a thing that is met there, which I'm fairly certain is probably going to come back to at some point. But this book is a delight. I know there are people out there who don't like magic books, but this is... I have been thoroughly enjoying this book for what it's been, and I do hope it has legs, and continues to have legs. Because this is pretty different from a lot of the books that's out there right now.
Sure.
And
I mean, I'm kind of reminded of a book I used to champion called Gotham Academy.
Yes, Gotham Academy was also good.
It's definitely in that vein, but obviously this has magic involved. So there's just a hint of Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. So. I definitely recommend this book. It's still only 4 issues in. This started during the pandemic, so you still have the opportunity to catch up on something that still has a long way to grow.
Mm-hmm. And the art is great. Like, Humberto Ramos, I dare say, channeling a little bit of Viscotti Young, in a sense.
Yes.
So it definitely fits well with Scotty, who is more notably as an artist, writing this book.
Right,
but
and
which brings up a couple of another thing, like more artists get starting to write now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a long tradition of some creators doing both, but it's nice that he's got a teammate who is letting some of his darker and more horror-based art styles kind of flourish. Mm-hmm. Ramos is not necessarily the most technical based. Like, you don't necessarily need to see him doing Iron Man. Right. But this is something that's organic, that flows, that has lots of, kind of creepy looking things. I mean, let's face it. If I had my druthers, this would be a Chris Bocciolo book. This would be a Bocciolo book, but Ramos is definitely doing an incredible job on this, and definitely the art is a highlight.
Right, but given that it's centered around kids, and despite it being a magic school and everything that could happen in and out of that, this art makes more sense than Bocciolo. It makes probably let me say that makes as much sense as the Boccolo's art.
Yeah, I was about to say. Remember, Bocciolo did Generation X.
Sure.
Back in the day, so
sure.
He's no stranger to kids. So
true.
All right, so that's Strange Academy number 4. Mm-hmm. You want me to spin it up?
Spin it up.
All right, here we go.
All right, folks. Rapid fire.
Let's see.
You want to go first, or you want to?
Yeah, I was going to say I'll go first because I don't think I have anywhere close to the number of books you have this week.
Okay.
And we already covered a bunch of mine. I think we'll cover the last book that we have in common, and that's Shang-Chi number 2.
Alrighty.
It is written by Jean Luen Yang with art by D.K. Ruan. There's a flashback sequence by Philip Tan and colors by Sebastian Chang. We get a flashback to when Shang-Chi last sees Sister Hammer before she is literally, figuratively, she's literally sent to Siberia. Or at least some part of Russia that is probably close to China, which is Siberia. So Shang-Chi gets a ride back to London and the house of the Deadly Staff to pay a visit to Sister Hammer, who quickly shows she's all about being in charge of the 5-weapon society. We find out that Zheng Zhu has some post-mortem powers he's still using to influence today's reality. And finally, it seems like Shang-Chi's sister Dagger and brother Saber come to the rescue, at least for now.
Yeah, the only thing I'm just gonna bring up is that so we knew Sister Hammer's motivations going into this, but when they got together, saw each other, I'm just like, okay, wait, is this going differently the way you think it would? No, it didn't. It just took longer to get to that point.
Exactly.
It was basically
start off that way,
right. It was basically a curse or a sudden but inevitable betrayal. Well, at least to us anyway. Like not to Shang-Chi, or seemingly because he kind of went in with open arms, and she kind of had a dagger behind her back, under the guise of some delicious treats, no less.
Exactly. His favorite.
Yes.
So next up for me is Batman 3 Jokers #3. This is written by Jeff Johns with pencils and inks by Jason Fabok and colors by Brad Anderson. Well, the art is solid throughout the series thanks to Fabok, but the concept of the story to me fell a little flat. So there's a small reveal, though, at the end of the story that may have lasting ramifications for future Joker stories. So we'll see if this story ends up being solidly set outside continuity, or if it's brought into continuity. We will see. Next is Department of Truth #2. This is published by Image. It's written by James Tynion IV with art by Martin Simmons. What started as a cool concept in issue #1 does not really get followed up on in this issue as we dig a little deeper into the demons of the main character, Cole. Next is another Image book, Philadelphia #9. You know, I'm a fan of this book simply because it has a pretty interesting premise. It's written by Rodney Barnes with art by Jason Sean Alexander and colors by Luis NCT. James Sangster Jr. gets his undead father up to speed on Abigail Adams's more ambitious plans, which essentially parallel a terrorist attack with the ultimate goal of creating a new type of slavery. Meanwhile, we find out about another founding father who may be roaming the earth as a vampire as well. And here's a mild hint: he might be singing "What Did I Miss?" So you need to have seen Hamilton to get that reference.
Nice.
Next is my last book. Wow, that's so quick because I just did not get to as many books this week. My last book of the week is a fun read. This is another potential click of the week for me. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. When was the last time I read a Turtles book for the Comic Book Chronicles? Probably like early on when IDW launched their new Turtles book, which is like 100 issues ago now. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Last Ronin #1, published by IDW. The story is by Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird, and Tom Waltz. The script is by Waltz and Eastman, and the layouts are by Eastman. Pencils and inks are by Esau and Isaac Escorza. This is from a story that Eastman and Laird have had a long time. There's one turtle left, and he's on a quest for revenge against the Shredder's grandson, who now leads the Foot Clan and has taken over New York City. From the outside, it looks like Escape from New York, but inside the walls that circle Manhattan Island, it seems like things have simply modernized. There's a lot to the story. There's a big reveal on the last page, so I would actually recommend anyone who's reading this, who picks this up, who has a soft spot in their heart for the Turtles. You can actually read this without having to understand any of the other stuff that has happened in the continuity since they've restarted it at IDW, because a lot has happened since they restarted it at IDW.
Right, and like 8 to 70 mentioned, like you mentioned, like every now and then we've had some news about the Turtles, what's been going on in the the Turtles story from this current volume. That's kind of made me want to check it out, but I never really ever do because I figure like it's kind of one of those things you gotta go back a volume or two to kind of pick up on, especially with the addition of other mutants and whatnot and all the other side stories that they have already. But yeah, it just doesn't seem like this one does. I hadn't read this one yet. I tried to get Agent 70 to tell me who the last turtle was, because normally you would think that, well, you would know which turtle it was by the headband by the headband that they have on. But,
but they psych you out by not giving them the colored headbands.
Right, and since you said that, I was like, okay, there must have been a switch. But he still wouldn't tell me, y'all. So I even though I had planned on reading this anyway.
Anti-spoiler. I mean, I'll spoil a few things, but I'm not into the big ones.
Right.
You know, I have to ring the spoiler bell, and I'm not going to do it because I actually want people to read this. It's actually pretty fun.
And so that I will, probably sometime after this. Maybe there will be some impressions at some later date, since we got this whole nice little Twitch channel that we can do things on. That being said, I will get into mine real quick. Savage Adventures number 13. Apparently that is still coming out, as have yet to figure out where this is going to end, or if it's going to end. Actually, we know it's going to end. I think
we know it's going to end. I think it's going to end when they finally do something about Kulan Gath.
Yeah, and I think that's probably going to be. I feel like I've seen 15 being the issue, and it seemed like it might be going to that point in this issue. But that being said, the gathered team on the moon, no less, compares notes. Didn't like how the person afflicted was done, but you know, Conan is clearly a singularly focused guy, which was noted while they were talking. The team splits into two. You never split the party, but yet there's, you know, it is what it is on that. But anyway, the team splits in two and goes on a recruitment drive while Dr. Strange makes a house call. When did Wolverine meet bats? I don't remember. In fact, I don't know if that ever, well. Oh wait, it probably happened in this book, actually, now that I think about it. But no, because I don't think Wolverine came up in the beginning and then he kind of went off on his own, but I don't remember them being at the same time and him meeting bats. But regardless, that was kind of a question I had. But and last but not least, is Steven going full Chew? If you know that reference of that other comic, then you know what I'm talking about. Black Widow, Widow's Sting number 1. A new old tale written by noted Marvel writer-editor Ralph Macchio. No, not that one. Natasha infiltrates, because, you know, some people know only one Ralph Macchio. Macchio, excuse me. But Natasha infiltrates Silvermane's dinner party for S.H.I.E.L.D., who's making a play for Magia Head. Is it Magia or Magia?
You got me.
I've never, that was one of those ones, like, it always comes up, but never really know which way to pronounce it. But anyway.
Because it's supposed to be Mafia, but they're not trying to get themselves whacked over at Marvel Comics offices. So.
Exactly. Like make it close enough, but not direct. But anyway, Silvermane's making a play for Magia Head with a little help from a certain wand from the Strange collection. If you longtime fans of Doctor Strange, you know what that is. It's amazing that a high-tech setup is right behind a simple bookcase. Clearly, Natasha hasn't ever been to the Batcave or Aunt May's old place. This was not called Widow's Sting for nothing, partially because she uses the Widow's Sting pretty much every other time in the last part of this book. But Natasha dusts Mayan Martin Marco, one punch almost style, but it is what it is on that. But she does complete her mission, so it's all good. It's a decent read. It is definitely reminiscent of it harkens back to a different era of comic book storytelling, where, you know, which granted some of that still done now, where it's like, hey, I'm going to tell everything I do. The character tells everything I do and how and why and this and another, and a lot of exposition while action's going on. So it is what it is. Spider-Man Noir number 5. Russian spies, Dora Milaje, Nazis, Imcron crystals, spider totems, and sibling god rivalries. But at the end of the day, the universe is just hundreds of millions of burrows. I've been checking out the Spider-Man Noir book, and it's actually not bad. It's a little bit of Indiana Jones, especially given what I just mentioned. But it's an interesting read. It's kind of one. Well, it says to be continued question mark, so maybe there's another Spider-Man Noir story coming at some point. But this one was pretty much a story unto itself. But there is definitely one character that I would like to see more of, and that's the pilot / Dora Milaje that gets revealed in the last issue. That makes a good run in this issue also, along with a certain widow. Let's see. Fantastic Four Antithesis number 3. Galen and Reed imbues the team with power cosmic and sends them on a collection run. The end result, a new Galactus.
Okay.
Yeah, so you'd have to read the issue to know what comes about that. Dr. Doom number 8. Even at his lowest, Doom has a spare minute to drag Reed Richards. Victorious is clearly ride or die. And so as payment for helping fix the black hole problem, he being Doom takes over Simcaria.
Really?
Yeah.
I was about to say, where is Silver Sable?
Oh, she shows up. She definitely shows up. He even busts out his old Secret Wars vehicle. Like there's a mention to the Secret Wars toy that he has, which is kind of something. Well, one, not the other, because there was actually two. If so, folks of a certain vintage will remember that there was two of them, but there's one in particular that gets brought up here. I would say it should have been the other one, which I won't mention. But anyway,
is it the one that looks like a circle?
No, it's not that one.
On it?
No, it's not the roller. Should have been the roller, but it's not.
I got you. I mean, listen, I was not one of those lucky kids that got that many vehicles. I got a couple here and there.
I don't think I got any of them.
From any toy line, but I definitely got a few of the figures, but I definitely did not get any of these vehicles.
Yeah.
Shout out to Google for showing me all the stuff that I missed out on, right?
Yeah, and I saw apparently there was more than just those two in that thing. I was like, I don't really remember but the one. Like I barely remember the one that got brought up, because that's why it let me have to. By the way, in the show notes there is a link to the one in question underneath Dr. Doom if you choose to feel like it. Okay. Yeah, choose to feel like it. It's not necessarily. It doesn't look exactly like that, but that's pretty much what it is. What it's supposed to be invoking.
Got it.
But anyway, and apparently the Ultimate Nullifier went back to its original owner because of snitches. Meanwhile, Blue Marvel and alternate Doc Ock are trying to get rid of the not black hole portal per Doom's instructions, which they pretty much take care of that whole alternate Doctor Ock situation. Excuse me. If I said Dr. Doom, I meant Doc Ock. Doc Ock situation right then and there. But it seems that Victorious is of Sincarian blood, as her mom is the one trying to overthrow Doom, or was trying to overthrow Doom. Nova shows up, but doesn't get named. And at the end of it all, Doom thinks to try to reinvent himself again. And I guess we'll see what happens to that going forward. Okay. Because something happens in this book that he himself is not too happy about with someone that I just mentioned that caused him to rethink himself.
I was about to say, I freely admit not having read most of this Doctor Doom series. How is Cantwell doing on this?
It's actually pretty good. Like it's not like it's taken like it's not doing like the whole Superior Iron Man or whatever they call that book.
Right.
It's not going that way, but it's pretty much like we see Doom in more of a state here than we probably will ever get. So they're trying to layer him a little bit more.
Got it. Not that that was really necessary. He always
Right.
did have, he was always like an onion in that regard. Shout out to Shrek.
Pretty
But
much.
Doctor Doom of all of the Marvel villains, with the exception of probably Magneto, those two have probably been layered like onions, like over the course of Marvel's history.
Right. Like even in the beginning of this volume, it's like Doom's in his own way trying to chase a dream, trace a dream, or some visions that he's been having. So it kind of led to at least probably what's going to come about right now, because the first arc of this book was kind of him, had gotten into some trouble, or was being framed for a thing that he didn't do, and also this other thing is in the sideline that's probably going to come together with the whole black hole situation. But yeah, I think it's worth a read. You should check it out. I think it's might have some might be kind of compelling. Next up, though, Injustice, Year Zero, number 9. Joker possesses Jay Garrick and goes after Wildcat and uses a Superman line. Also has his henchman dresses as Harley. Well, everybody's into something. Or has one of his henchmen dresses Harley. It's not Bob, though. Don't worry about it. It's not Bob. And last but not least, shout out to Batman 89.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm like, Bob?
Yeah.
Bob, fun,
I've got a name for my page. Anyway, I want to watch Batman 89 again. Anyway, last but not least, G.I. Joe number 9. This is an IDW joint, if I have not said that ever before. And this is definitely not the Larry Hama one. But Tunnel Rat recounts all of his lost teammates as he is running for his life. And there was a lot of Joes that got killed apparently during the course of whatever mission he was on. Like some that are notable to classic Joes. But I would say pick up this volume, but I feel like a lot of the stuff that's going on in this volume has been going on for the last couple of volumes, and I think I've probably recounted before that basically Cobra's taking over the United States almost Red Dawn style. But that's not a thing that's new to this volume. It's just one that's kind of planned out in this particular way. Like G.I. Joe's pretty much the resistance now, going underground. Duke's dead, and apparently a whole lot of other Joes. Even one of the souls they restructured, they regendered. Some of them are gone. And a lot of that's going on, but it's still all right. Like it comes out monthly, and you can almost lose sight of where this book's at because of whatever else is going on with books and whatnot. But it's still a not bad read. And that is it for me. Clicks of the week.
All right. Here we go. Clicks of the week.
And we already got 2 from our erstwhile partners. Dirt's pick is Red Hood, Outlaw number 50, which I believe, and I meant to go back and recheck, is the last issue of this book. Let me go ahead and reconfirm that, because before I even say that, because we do know it's like it's an anniversary, it's a milestone issue. Here we go. Yes, don't miss the end of the Outlaw era, so that's the end of that. But then again, we know Future State is coming, and I think they're probably gonna, I assume at some point they're probably gonna redo Red Hood and Outlaws or something.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if the multitude of news that we've gotten about Future State, I don't think I've seen anything about that. But regardless, it is that. I was reading actually Red Hood and Outlaws early on, and for some strange reason I dropped it. Probably wasn't an event or something that happened, but he doesn't. Dirt is all in on this one. It sounds like he says, "Oh, it's a good bookend." Also, so that's pretty much that. And for Tim, 10 of Swords, Stasis number 1 is his click.
Okay.
Do you have yours?
I am still considering weighing two books against each other.
Mm.
Essentially, Immortal Hulk, number 39, constant candidate for this. For my choice for a click of the week. But you know what? I'm gonna go slightly rogue on this and go with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Last Ronin number 1. Shout out to Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird for coming together on Turtle stuff again, and it's good to see them back, back at the reins, as it were.
Also, Heroes in a Half Shell, Total Power.
I was about to say, shout out to was it Arcade One Up? I think they put out the 4-player.
They totally did. Yes.
Turtle
arcade machine. Yeah.
mini arcade machine for home use. And I lost track of all the ones that I want. I have no room in this house for all the ones that I want. It's pretty funny.
Luckily, I believe those you can tabletop those.
Right, you can. You can, but then, think about all the things that you'd have to put away, all these games you have to put away so you can play that on a tabletop. But yeah.
True. But yeah, those are out there. I've seen a couple of those in Walmart. I'm like, yeah, I kind of want those, but just like you, I don't have a place.
I'd love to set up. Listen, if I had like a McMansion suburban house, I've seen pictures of people who post pictures of their like kind of mini arcades that they have at home. Where they have like a bunch of arcade 1-up machines, like along the perimeter of a game room. Forget it, man. That's that's an excuse just to get one of those McMansions.
Yeah, or in my case, a basement, or a lower level. Like if I had I don't want to do that, but I was about to say if I had my aunt's house because she has a split level house, I would totally put it downstairs around right behind the bar.
Right.
Anyway, apparently this arcade cabinet has not only Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but Turtles in Time.
Right. All the whatchamacallit, they put in the two 4-player games.
So that's cool. I did not know that. I just thought it just had the one. Anyway, let me get off this page.
I was about to say, while I give Roddykat maybe a little time to consider what his.
Oh no, I got mine, but I was just.
Oh, you do? Okay, I was just gonna add that most of those arcade 1-up games have more than one game on them to provide a little bit extra value.
Right. Which is cool. Yeah. Well, the Golden Axe one has not even Golden Axe games, it's got Shinobi, Alter Beast, and Wrestle War. I don't know Wrestle War.
Yep.
But those are
those Sega games, right? Yeah.
Yeah. The Burger Time machine. I kind of want that one though. You know what? Let me get.
What's your click of the week?
I know, right? Let me get the hell off this page. X-Men versus Street Fighter also, which
Yeah, I want all the Capcom-based ones.
Yeah, that would be nice. Although, like, granted, you can make a machine that can do that can get all that stuff, but some people don't want to go through that. Anyway, my click of the week is Strange Academy number 4. I kind of did weigh it out, but I was like, you know what? That one was the one that kind of like it was either going to be that one, possibly Doctor Doom, and maybe Immortal Hulk was good, and I think it might have answered a question that I brought up last, or at least a concern of mine. I think it might have taken care of that concern I had last week. Maybe not.
Okay.
But the Strange Academy was really good, as it has been, and you should definitely be checking out that book. Period.
Alrighty.
Ad read for me, please, sir.
Our first ad read of the night is for Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron. Fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron. Always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. Now we get into the news.
And we start off as we do every week about this time with the cinematic news. I should probably put our little pictures down here, but maybe some other point. The Mandalorian's Jon Favreau talks whether he'll bring the Disney Plus show to the big screen. The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, which by the way is going to be starting up tomorrow or probably in a few hours as of this recording for season 2. But anyway, the Mandalorian on the Disney Plus brought the live-action world of Star Wars to the small screen, but could the show's popularity bring the franchise full circle, with Pedro Pascal's character ever making it to the movies? Showrunner Jon Favreau says it's a possibility, but he's not in a hurry to make that happen. Quote unquote, the line is blurring now, Favreau told Variety, regarding a long-standing traditional demarcation between entertainment at home versus in the theater. Things that you would only have seen in the movie theater, you're seeing on streaming, and I think it could go the other way as well. And I will just side note there instead that after COVID, gets dealt with, which at this point in the U.S. probably won't be until 2035.
Yeah. Considering that other countries are going back into lockdown, we don't know.
Right, but there are some countries that are still, keeping it tight. So,
right.
Go figure on that. But anyway, that is that. Then we'll see if we ever see The Mandalorian or some part of it on the big screen. Next up.
So, a special look at season 2 of The Mandalorian shows the titular bounty hunter visiting all sorts of different locales as he tries to return the child to his rightful home. He travels to a frozen Hoth-like planet, a desert landscape, and a seedy-looking boxing ring. That last one is especially odd because Star Wars hasn't really featured too much hand-to-hand combat. We generally see different types of combat, but not hand-to-hand. But it seems like this boxing ring in the Mandalorian's trailer could mean season 2 will feature a Teras Kasi tournament, a martial art created for the Star Wars universe by Steve Perry, author of Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. It's something that was previously depicted in the video game Star Wars Masters of Teras Kasi.
It's Teras Kasi. But yeah, I don't. There's. First of all, Masters of Teras Kasi was a terrible game. It was a terrible fighting game, but.
Is it like a Star Wars?
It was totally a Star Wars fighting game, yeah, like Street Fighter style.
Gotcha. Or
Soul Calibur, I guess more. But regardless, it was terrible. But it was also back before, back in the days where a lot of stuff was just being tried for tried's sake, and Lucasfilm was one, doing video games, and two, just trying a whole bunch of stuff with some of this property. Kind of missed those days, but it was a terrible game. Nevertheless, a boxing ring was never a part of the thing, and I think this is probably more speculation on the article's writer's part. But I included it in here because it's a pretty good one. If that was the case, and I have no reason to believe that it is, like I said, a boxing ring would not be the style of Teras Kasi. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
But who knows? That's right. And I suspect that boxing ring probably won't be two Jedi squaring off on each other. But they did end up, I think, in later years in the EU, making Teras Kasi into some sort of grand ritual rite of combat or something like that, like this kind of mentions. So, anyway, next up, Disney releases a Mandalorian recap to help you catch up to before season 2 in 90 seconds. So yeah, there's a 90-second season 1 recap that's out there by Disney. You've probably seen it by now. It came out probably the day before we're like on Wednesday, the day before we're airing. So, and again, the season 2 will be out probably by the time. Well, probably not by the time we finish wrapping this episode up, but definitely by the time you hear this, after the fact, it will be out. So enjoy that. We will might be talking about it if we're both finished next week. Knowing Agent 70 will probably blow through the whole thing quicker than I will.
What are you talking about? Mandalorian, they're only putting out one episode a week.
Yeah, I know, but
It's
well,
not like they're asking us to binge the whole thing.
well, that's true. No, they definitely don't want that. But I mean, like I said, we were talking about this earlier before the show, because I postulated that they were probably putting it out the same way they did the last one, and that's week to week, and I see no reason for them to go against that. As why we're saying that also, but who knows? Maybe they'll pull it and be like, "Here you go, here's all of them." I doubt they'll do that though. I very much doubt that. Anywho, next up.
All right, next up. Hello there. Chances are you've relived Obi-Wan's path to becoming a Jedi Master in the Star Wars prequel dozens of times by now. But to help you along, Disney has released a new short that's sure to raise your midi-chlorians. Oh, stupid Newsarama. So as part of the Galaxy of Adventure series, Obi-Wan is seen reflecting in this video on his life so far on Tatooine. Alec Guinness's lines are from A New Hope are used. And yeah, just go and watch this. I haven't watched it yet. I'm interested in seeing this.
Yeah, I've kind of skimmed a couple of those Galaxy of Adventure shorts. They're pretty good. The animation those is pretty good. This one I expect to be no different, but I haven't watched this one yet either. So
I just want to hear him say, he's got the high ground.
And he probably does. I'm
I hope
quite
so.
sure about that.
I hope so.
Moving right along. Ghost. DuckTales bosses are ready to tackle Disney Afternooniverse spinoffs. So apparently, let's see. The DuckTales reboot has featured several characters from the classic Disney Afternoon lineup, including Darkwing Duck. Excuse me. According to co-executive producer, story editor Frank Angones, the plan was always to build on these characters' appearances. That makes sense. The thing that we feel about all of our DuckTales characters is that they have an unlimited story potential. And Gomez told Sci-Fi Wire, if the opportunity arises, then there will be that would be really interesting and fantastic. So we certainly have stories about not only Darkwing Duck, but about the rest of the families and all the various offshoots. Our goal was to slowly rebuild the Disney Afternooniverse, a world that we could play in, that others can play in. So who's to say whether that's going to happen or not? It sounds like it could very well. But as the Animaniac said, well, actually, we might get into that in a little bit, so never mind. Next up.
All right, next up. Variety is reporting that Oscar Isaac is in talks to star in the Marvel series Moon Knight at Disney+. Moon Knight, as you should know if you're listening to this show, tells the story of Mark Spector, an elite soldier and mercenary who decides to fight crime after he becomes the human avatar of Khonshu, the Egyptian god of the moon. This would mark a return of sorts to Marvel for Isaac, who previously starred in X-Men Apocalypse, which I still have not seen and refuse to. And because that was a Fox X-Men movie that happened before Disney reacquired the rights by buying out Fox.
I was about to say, as that was happening, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
And
obviously we know Oscar Isaac as Poe Dameron from the Star Wars sequel trilogy.
Yep. Yeah. So people have been taking this and running with it as confirmation, and I kind of hate that. That does a disservice. Because there were quote unquote news sites that have been like it's acting like it's confirmed, and people have been taking it as gospel. And there's been a couple of times where I had to say, no, he's in talks. Calm your buns. And even if it was already confirmed and no one said anything, because obviously you can't really believe it unless either he or which he's not going to do because he's under NDA. But even the NDA doesn't mean that he has to say anything. Just like in that She-Hulk case, which that's still a whole nother situation, because she didn't necessarily have to say anything, but she did, whether she's under NDA or not. And that's a whole nother piece that some people are missing on that in that equation. But regardless, he's in talks. It's not been confirmed. Marvel hadn't said anything as far as this article is concerned, and they haven't definitely said anything. And them or Disney hasn't said anything in confirmation. So calm your buns. It is not confirmed yet, And we
I was about
probably
to
won't.
say, this is Roddykat breaking out some new terminology here. Next up for
Hey,
you.
I do it every now and then. Um, I guess speaking of Moon Knight, Marvel's Moon Knight Disney Plus series finds its director. Marvel's Moon Knight series on Disney Plus has reportedly found its director in the Egyptian filmmaker, and I believe this came out like not too long after the Oscar Isaac thing, but obviously was slightly overshadowed. But anyway, the Moon Knight series has reportedly found its director in Egyptian filmmaker Mohamed Diab. According to Hollywood Reporter, Disney and Marvel Studios have tapped Diab to serve as the director of their upcoming Moon Knight series, which is set to tell the story of Mark Spector, former soldier of fortune, who is in Moonlight. And surprisingly enough, by the way, not a lot of people. There are some people who don't know who Moonlight is, or even not that much about him. So I will go ahead and put here that if you are watching the show and if you are curious to understand who the character in Moon Knight, you should check out the clickbait section. And there is a story in there that breaks down everything you would probably want to know about Moon Knight. Anyway, Diab first came onto the scene with a directorial debut, Cairo 678, which was released in December of 2010, just 1 month before the Egyptian Revolution. A few years later, he helmed Clash from a script that he wrote with his brother Khaled Diab. Excuse me. The film was officially selected by the 2016 Cannes Film Festival and opened the festival's Uncertain Regard session that year. So he also wrote the Island franchise films, which the Island was a franchise.
You got me.
Yeah. I barely remember those movies. But anyway, which are amongst the highest grossing Egyptian and Arab... Oh, okay. This is not the same island that I'm thinking of. Which are amongst the highest grossing Egyptian and Arabic language films of the time. So, there you go. Director, but not necessarily a star just yet. Moving right along.
All right, next up. Over a year after it was first announced, Marvel Studios' Blade reboot is on the hunt for screenwriters. According to the Hollywood Reporter, the Blade movie is one of multiple upcoming films looking to increase black representation not only in front of the camera, but behind it as well. The Mahershala Ali-starred Marvel film is searching for screenwriters, though no specific names have been mentioned as of yet.
Yes, but it does say they're seemingly specifically looking for black screenwriters.
Mm-hmm.
Seemingly, so that's always great. Next up.
You know what makes a lot of...
Not that stupid autoplaying video.
Yeah.
Marvel's Shang-Chi film has finished filming, apparently. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, one of the upcoming films in Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, has finished shooting. And matter of fact, I'm going to take the next article after this because it is definitely related. Director Destin Daniel Cretton, I don't know, and lead actress...
Cretin. I think it's Cretin because Cretin is spelled Cretin and has a vastly different meaning.
True, sure. And lead actor Simu Liu have both confirmed the end of filming on their Instagram accounts embedded below. And in fact, going to the next article, which was probably also mentioned here in this article, Simu Liu put out a message on his Instagram about the wrapping up of the film, and he says, "That's a wrap on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings," in all caps. 9 months from now, we will break records and make history as the first superhero movie to feature an all-Asian cast that kicks so much ass it's not even funny. Well, that's a lie. Actually, it's quite funny, too. He goes on to say, "For all of us who hated the color of our skin or been made to feel less than because of it, no more. This is our film, and it will be impossible for Hollywood to ignore us after this. I'll see you then, but probably sooner, actually, because I'm always on here, lol. Let's fucking go!"
That's a great cast pick, too.
Indeed. I'm not entirely, I I don't entirely know of his work, but I'm looking forward to seeing this. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, it's going to be a new Marvel movie. We're already kind of sold.
Yeah, totally.
We're the target audience. Next up, Chris Hemsworth posted a photo of director Taika Waititi wrapped in a blanket and sprawled out on the grass floor outside the grass ground outside during Thor: Love and Thunder's first official script reading and meeting. Terrific first script meeting for Thor: Love and Thunder with our ever fearless leader Taika Waititi. Hemsworth captioned the photo. My notes were so detailed and intense that the only way for Taika to fully absorb them was to roll himself into a tight cocoon and bake in the endless possibilities of where the film will take us. The bloke in the background was equally riveted by my storytelling prowess. God.
A Taika cocoon.
Funny.
But yes, if you're watching the video of this program, and you should sometimes, there's some stuff that comes up. You can see the picture for yourself if you're not already following Chris Hemsworth and probably thirsting.
Yeah.
Next up, though, Betty Ross works with Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner in MCU concept art, which is what I was alluding to earlier in the program. So apparently there was a newly released concept art from the Wakanda Files book that reveals that Betty Ross was working with Mark Ruffalo's version of Bruce Banner. And Liv Tyler, as we know, was the person who played Betty Ross during the 2008 Incredible Hulk movie, which was also mentioned earlier. Wait, are they doing both Hulk movies or just this one?
Oh, you talking about on binge mode?
Right. I assume they're just doing the one. Yeah.
They're just doing the MCU.
That's what I thought. Okay, so because
they bring up the fact that there was a 2003 Ang Lee movie,
right, the Ang Lee joint,
and discuss it, but they don't go into all the details.
Right. So yeah.
But
so
if anyone out there has ever listened to binge mode, they know that they are thorough and cover lots of the bases, if not all.
So yes, we are talking about the MCU / Ed Norton one, which direct MCU. So but it says here definitely that there's concept art that means that that basically says that Mark Ruffalo and Liv Tyler could have been playing against each other at some form. But we'll probably never ever get an Incredible Hulk movie, or they'll probably never bring that up. And we have also seen Thunderbolt Ross, who was also in that movie, played by, if I'm not mistaken, the same person. Wait, was it the same person? I don't think it was.
What's that?
Was it the same person playing Thunderbolt Ross and all?
Yeah.
Okay. Whose name is escaping me right now?
But in MCU, yeah.
Yeah. Because I thought they had switched up Thunderbolt Ross's, and maybe I'm thinking about the Ang Lee movie, which I now that I think about, I don't think I've ever actually seen all the way through, because that joint is rather,
I just don't remember too much of it, so.
Yeah, it's probably just because I don't think he hulks out until like near the end of the movie anyway, from all accounts. Anyway, moving right along, there is that. So.
Won't remember.
Yeah.
All
concept
right.
art being what it is.
Next up. Spider-Man 3 news. Tom Holland has announced that filming is starting with a video message. So we recognize that Marvel Studios is gradually beginning to resume its various productions. Principal photography has quietly begun on Tom Holland's third solo Spider-Man film. Can you believe it's already going to be 3?
And apparently not so quietly, but also the Disney Marvel snipers might have gotten to him.
Yeah. So he posted a video on Instagram as he landed in Atlanta, Georgia, to join the production. The production had actually begun earlier this month in New York City. I haven't seen it because it's not like I leave the house that often. Holland's post has since been deleted from his own account. The snipers. It's been shared by various fan accounts following the actor. Basically Tom Holland says, okay, so we just landed in Atlanta and it's time for Spider-Man 3. Let's go. People love that, man.
Yeah.
This was originally slated to begin principal photography earlier in July before COVID. And as I mentioned, second unit filming began recently here in New York City for establishing shots. Principal photography is expected to run until March of 2021.
Except for the fact that if things go the way they're probably likely, well, not necessarily likely, the way they could potentially go, the whole United States could be in another lockdown, and and things will stop again.
We'll see.
We'll see. Speaking of Tom Holland, though, Tom Holland drops first official look at his Nathan Drake, which we know, if you are a video game fan, is the character, the main character of the Uncharted series. So Tom Holland has released the first official look at his upcoming movie adaptation of the Uncharted video game, featuring himself as lead Nathan Drake, a younger version of Nathan Drake as it is. It's nice to meet you. I'm Nate. Hashtag Uncharted. Holland captions the photo on his Instagram. Gotta say, he's not, just, the look is there. There you go. But, some people still hope that it would be Nathan Fillion, which, I could totally see that if they did some time shenanigans or something. But, hey, as a young Nathan Drake, it's not bad. We'll see how he does in the role when it finally ever happens. Next up, Stranger Things actor.
Someone's gonna have to help me with pronouncing this
I don't know
name. Dacker?
Or Dakra? Sure, I don't know.
Dakra? Who makes up these names? Dakra Montgomery fueled rumors that he will step into the role of Wolverine in a recent post that has since been deleted. In my opinion, he's too tall. According to MovieWeb, Montgomery briefly shared fan art that showed him smoking a cigar while mocked up as Wolverine on his Instagram story. Montgomery's name has been thrown around as the next actor to take on the role after the images were first posted on the Boss Logic Twitter account in 2018. And the rumors intensified after Disney acquired the rights to the Marvel Fox properties back in 2019. Okay.
Right, and if you're watching the video, you can see the original Boss Logic post from 2018, right there in the article. Yeah, I don't. It looks more like Sabretooth than Wolverine in that picture, or at least
it's not for me. Yeah, I was going to say it's not for me.
Yeah, a thinner Wolverine. I mean Sabretooth. Which I am threatened to go through the Wolverine movies. I think I'm almost at the point to where I might be there. Like I've seen bits and pieces of the second one, and I still haven't seen Logan.
I was about to say I've seen them both. I've never really wanted to revisit them.
Yeah, I've seen. Well, actually, now that I think about it, I've seen bits and pieces of X-Men's Origins. Now that I think about it, I remember being holed up in a hotel at one point during a con, no less, and both of those movies being on at some amount of times. So yeah, one of these days I might slog through those and actually finish X-Men Origins Wolverine the video game, which that's probably all happen sooner rather than later. Anyway, Battlestar Galactica movie is happening with X-Men producer Simon Kinberg. Simon Kinberg has signed up to produce and write the long-awaited Battlestar Galactica movie. Dylan Clark will produce alongside the Dark Phoenix director. That don't sound good at all. I still haven't seen Dark Phoenix either, but still. Kinberg is probably best known for his work with the X-Men franchise. That's not making it any better. Over the last decade. He was also attached to co-write the Boba Fett movie with James Mangold before Disney and Lucasfilm decided to pull the plug after a less than ecstatic response to Solo, a Star Wars movie story. He also worked as a creative. You know what? Y'all probably already know this, but he's also a creative consultant on 2015's Force Awakens. Like Kinberg is one of those names you see on a lot of stuff lately, like Berlanti for TV stuff. Like I kind of wish they would find some different other people for some of the stuff, because it's not fair that these people are getting all that money, but at the same time, the formula is there, and is also Hollywood, for better or for worse, sadly. Anywho, I'm sorry, I'm just picking up this thing about a Gorillaz movie, which has nothing to do with us, but that's going to be for my own reading. Next up, though.
Next up, when the Green Lantern television series debuts on HBO Max, it's going to have production values similar to a feature film, according to producer Mark Guggenheim. During the Sam at Home event, I'm not sure what SAM stands for.
Staying at home or something? I don't know. Good. You got me.
All right. During the Sam at Home event, Guggenheim briefly discussed the series during a live stream on YouTube. He states that he happens to believe that you can't do a 10-hour show or an 8-episode show like an 8-hour movie. So he just wants it to look good. There's a lot more to this. So basically, they're writing it like a TV show, but hoping to produce it like a film. Okay.
I'm looking up Sam at Home, and I'm seeing links to, well, one, the SEO on is not great, but I'm seeing stuff from Comic-Con International, so maybe it's Comic-Con.
You got me.
Oh wait, yeah, it says Comic-Con presents Sam at Home. I don't know. We're gonna move right along from that though. To the Batman shuts down part of Chicago for filming. Production on Matt Reeves' upcoming film The Batman took place on the streets of downtown Chicago, where scenes for Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight were also filmed. The news comes courtesy of ABC7 in Chicago, who mentioned that filming would be taking place on LaSalle Street, Jackson Boulevard, and Washington Street, which I feel like that's something probably shouldn't have been. Well, actually, no, never mind. I was about to say this probably something shouldn't have been released, but traffic being what it is, that's probably a good thing they did. Filming caused the closure of these streets from Friday evening to Saturday morning. The outlet also shared a video that showcased several Gotham elements from the Chicago set, including Gotham City police cars. So, cool. Next up.
So Wonder Woman 1984's planned Christmas release date is currently up in the air for very good reasons, according to Warner Brothers CEO Ann Sarnoff, who was asked about whether the movie's planned release date was definitive. She answered she hopes so. It really is about how the U.S. continues to open and whether there are any other surges, as in the coronavirus. And that's essentially what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And when asked if the discussion included director and co-writer Patty Jenkins, Sarnoff replied, absolutely, they are including Patty Jenkins in that discussion.
I feel like we would have known about it otherwise. Because, yeah, I believe the last date known was this coming December for this movie.
Right. Which puts it a little bit less than 2 months away now. So
right.
No surprise there that it's currently up in the air.
Right. It said here at the bottom that the film was expected to arrive in theaters December 25th. So
yeah, Christmas.
Yep. Along with other Christmas movies like Die Hard. Anyway, oh yeah, I've just found some news that I'm probably going to add it into this, but I'll get to that in a second. Pardon me, excuse me. Black Adam's Hawkman shares his JSA-themed research material. Aldous Hodge is casting as Hawkman in the upcoming Black Adam movie is announced in late September. We talked about this previously on the show. And the actor has now shared his comic book research material for the role. Hodge posted a collection of JSA and Hawkman comics on his Instagram with the caption, Weekend Homework, while tagging comic book writers and artists attached to the works. These creators include Jeff Johns, Robert Venditti, David S. Goyer, Stephen Sadowski, Michael Bay, a bunch of people, including like Rags Morales and other folks. So, and you can see the picture right there of his spread. I'm trying to remember when the last time I ever read any JSA or Hawkman for that matter, and it's probably been a good while, if ever. So yeah, there you go. My man's is studying for the role. By the way, check out Leverage. Leverage is a good show. Next up,
Next is Cartoon Network is launching anti-racism PSA series with Steven Universe, OKKO, Let's Be Heroes creators. Rebecca Sugar and Ian Jones Quarte, the creators behind Steven Universe and OKKO, Let's Be Heroes, are launching a series of anti-racism PSAs with Cartoon Network. Debuting this week, Don't Deny It, Defy It is the first of the 4 PSAs and features Steven Universe's Garnet, voiced by Estelle. Future installments will be released on a bi-monthly schedule with different Steven Universe characters. For more information, you can visit www.crystalgemspeakup.com.
Indeed. Let's see. Re-enroll and get a little loony with Tiny Toons Looniversity. So this is also harking back to something I just mentioned a little while ago. The trailer for the upcoming Animaniacs revival series begins by joking, reboots are symptomatic of a fundamental lack of originality in Hollywood. I love how this article is like, I'm going to bring up this thing's own words against them. Looks like it's time for millennials to rejoice with the news that a Tiny Toons Looniversity cartoon is on the way to HBO Max. That's right, Toonsters, get ready to return to Acme Acres with Buster and Babs, no relation, and the rest of the Tiny Toons gang. Much like the aforementioned Animaniacs reboot, Steven Spielberg returns to executive produce this new Tiny Toons series. While Animaniacs will be premiering on Hulu, Looniversity will be streaming on HBO Max, as we just said, but we don't know if the original voice cast, is coming back for this one. So there you go. Those are the facts.
Oh, no. Next up, the new Power Rangers movie will be written by film, TV, and comic writer and former guest of the Comic Book Chronicles, Brian Edward Hill. E1 and Hasbro recently announced that they were going to be developing a new Power Rangers movie along with some new TV projects. It was previously announced that Jonathan Entwistle, creator of the Netflix series I Am Not Okay With This and It's the End of the Effing World, would be directing the film. It's now being reported that Brian Edward Hill will write the Power Rangers feature film adaptation. We know him as the creator behind several comics and TV shows and whatnot. So congratulations to him on a property that I have no connection to.
Oh man, Power Rangers is so great, and so is Super Sentai, which is pretty much the thing that's off of that. And those Power Rangers books have been actually all right. But yeah, Brian Edward here, like Agent 7 said, been on the show. I believe writing and producing Titans, or writing on and producing Titans.
When we had him on, we talked about Titans.
Right, and he did that Killmonger book, and he was doing Hellion. Wait, Fallen Angels.
Yeah, he did Fallen Angels, which wasn't the best received Dawn of X books, but at the end of the day, he's still got a good track record when it comes to written work. So we'll see how this comes out with Power Rangers.
But weirdly enough, I think, because I remember when he was even on the show, he was like, yeah, I'm going to have to give up some stuff because he's got some other stuff in the pocket, which I guess this and Titans and whatever else he was doing was on. But he was still writing Batman and the Outlaw, Batman and Outsiders. I believe he's still writing it up until it ends. Actually, I think it just ended. Or did it just end?
All
Yeah.
right. I was going to say, I believe it just ended.
Yeah.
And I was also going to add that if he remained on Titans, they've already got another season banked.
That is
so
correct.
Probably done with that for now.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense that he might be onto this project.
Yeah. So, but hey, man's got stuff on the fire, so good on him. Next up, let's see. My Dad the Bounty Hunter Netflix series set with Russell Hornsby, Yvonne Orji, and more. Netflix has announced a new series, My Dad the Bounty Hunter, and it has a primarily black cast. The animated action comedy space series from wow, that's a weird sentence. Is from Everett Downing and Patrick Harpin. The voice cast includes the aforementioned Russell Hornsby, Yvonne Orji, Priya Ferguson, Yvette Nicole Brown, Jacoby Swain, Leslie Uggams, all right, Rob Riggle, and Jim Rash. Here's the log line. The action comedy series follows the toughest bounty hunter in all of the galaxy, a man with razor sharp skills, but also a secret. His family on Earth has no idea what he does for a living. So when his two kids accidentally hitch a ride into outer space and crash his latest mission, they discover that their average dad's job is anything but boring. Sounds like True Lies. True Lies,
no.
but a space comedy. Dodging dangerous aliens and laser fights galore, this family bonding time goes to the extreme. Wait until mom finds out. So, sounds interesting. I don't think it doesn't seem like it's related to any comic book stuff, but I wanted to bring it up here anyway. Wait, there is one more thing that I don't think I had put in yet. I did not. So give me a second while I put this in there so that we can. Where the hell did I put it? That's not it. What cried? Oh, it's right here. Stupid. There we go. I'm going to put it on the other sheet. There we go. It is there, so you can go check that out for yourself. Agent 70, if you want to go ahead and take that last one.
Oh, there's another story. Okay.
I just put it in. Yeah, I just put it in.
This. All right. As I open the story up, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles returns to movie theaters for 30th anniversary next month. To celebrate the movie's 30th anniversary, count the years, folks. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is to be re-released in theaters nationwide for a limited time. But remember, this does not include Vanilla Ice.
Thank God.
The original live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are all set to re-emerge from the sewers and once again liven up theaters nationwide to celebrate the movie's 30th anniversary. It will have a special 3-day engagement in cinemas courtesy of Fathom Events, who specialize in bringing independent movie classics to the big screen, and in this case are giving you the exact cinematic classic you need right now. That's a lot of fun. It was released in 1990.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't do quick math, that is 30 years ago.
Older than a lot of, I would say a lot of the audience, but older than probably a
Some
good
audience, yeah.
almost older than one of the hosts of the show.
That's funny.
What's up, Tim? But yeah, apparently November 5th through the 7th is when the Turtles, where you will come across the TMNT Turtle Power. I won't do the rap. And that was also Secret of the Ooze, which I hope will never see the light of day again. I never did see that Michael Bay movie, Turtles movie, but that's probably for the best for everyone involved, really.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, if you feel froggy and not turtly and you want to, make your way to the movie theater, then sure, go for it. But, that movie's out there in a lot of places. That movie's out there in a lot of places. You don't have to do that. I appreciate it, but
it's safe. Yeah. That's all I have to say to you people who might be considering going to the theaters.
Indeed. Pack your own snacks. Take your masks. Actually, don't snack. Just don't eat it. As much as I hate to say that, I'm a big proponent.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm pretty sure that one of the new rules is that you're not supposed to eat.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to, because that's why I had to stop myself. I was like, mask on at all times. Don't do this.
I was about to say, eat before you go.
Exactly. Anyway, we are going to transition over into the comic book news. And actually, I just realized I had a piece of news here that's not necessarily news, but something I'll probably bring up next week. And folks on the show, folks on the video will have seen what that is, because this kind of a thing that kind of bugged me also. Anyway, comic book news, starting with Brett Booth returns to the X-Men. Brett Booth returns to X-Men title after 18 years. Former.
I know someone who's happy about that.
Who?
Our own Tim Dog 98.
Is he now? I didn't know he was a Brett Booth fan. But anywho, former DC exclusive artist Brett Booth is returning to. Actually, maybe I did know that. Not that, but regardless, is returning to Marvel Comics in the next few months, and will be making a big splash by joining Jonathan Hickman on Marvel's ongoing X-Men title. So it's actually X-Men proper then. Booth will be drawing January 27th X-Men number 17, which will sound like it's probably going to be post Ten of Swords. And it says here, and I guess this stuff is also came out in the solicits, which some of this news is actually still coming out from the solicits, so be aware of that. When the Shi'ar Empire asked for the X-Men for help, Cyclops, Storm, and Marvel Girl answered the call, according to the solicitations. So, cool. And you see some line art from Brett Booth and the cover. So, yeah, cool. Next up, Marvel-made Paragon Collection honors X-Men legend Chris Claremont. Marvel announced the Marvel-made Paragon Collection, which features a number of classic Claremont X-Men stories. The Marvel-made bundle will include a number of iconic X-Men stories, a new story by Claremont and Salvador Larroca, lithographs, and much more, all encased in a faux leather hardcover. However, the item's only going to ship if 1,200 pre-orders are placed. Talk about your Kickstarters. I know, right?
This collection with Marvel Made is a beautiful new compendium of some of his best, plus a beautifully illustrated new story by Sal Larroca, Claremont said in a statement. Here's where fans get to see Nightcrawler and Bloody Best save the world. You want to find out how? Get the collection.
Wow.
The books included range from you get the exclusive new 20-page story by Claremont and LaRocca. You get an original Days of Future Past notes and script by Chris Claremont. You get a reprint of X-Men 94. That's Claremont's first X-Men title, X-Men issue. You get 129 to 137. That's Dark Phoenix. 141 to 142. I believe that's Days of Future Past. You get the Wolverine miniseries with Frank Miller, number 1 through 4. Uncanny X-Men number 268. I believe that's the Captain America and Black Widow and Wolverine cover. And X-Men number 1. That's pretty cool. That's a nice little collection of Claremont's issues. And, feel free to look at all the dangling plot threads that you're going to pick up while you read those issues.
Yes. I do like the way that the presentation on this, because if you're watching the video, you can see the hardback book and the other hardback case that it comes in, and also it's some open pages and a little bookmark that's in there. And of course, you can't have this whole thing without "Welcome to the X-Men. Hope you survive the experience," because that's a thing. But yeah, you can see the rest of the everything that this thing entails, or at least a lot of it anyway, I should say, in the show notes. It's a lot. Wait, is there a price? Did we see a price?
Um,
the way bottom. Knowing the way they do this thing. No. Oh yeah, here we go. $199 pre-order.
That's not terrible. I was gonna say that's not terrible.
Yeah, it seems to be a lot in it.
You get a lot of stuff for that.
Yeah. So, sure, go for it if you're that rabid about it. Next up. Excuse me. Marvel's Runaways making surprise return to comic books actually yesterday, because this was from last week. Marvel's Runaways comic books has been on hiatus since onset of COVID-19 pandemic, but good news here is the book will be resuming schedule in just 6 days, which was again yesterday. In a bit of last minute surprise, Marvel has announced that Runaways 32 will go on sale October 28th, which again is out now. 7 months after the release of 31. 7 months after the release of 31 on March 18th. So the Runaways have always been full of surprises, says editor Nick Lowe. We're following in their footsteps and surprising you with Runaways 32 at Comic Shop, which I feel like this means that, we're just gonna like, we wanted to throw some. This was a light week, so we wanted to throw something else out there.
Wait, was Runaways out this week?
Yeah, it was this week. Or at least that's what it says here. I don't. Was it in the thing? I don't know. Actually, I don't see. I mean, it could have been. It could have been out and not pulled, but.
Right. I was about to say, now it makes me want to double check the Diamond page, because I didn't see it in this week's books, and that would suck. That we didn't get a chance to read a review copy of it. But you never know. Sometimes Marvel leaves out that stuff for us. So
Yeah, I don't know. We'll get to the bottom of that later, though. So, but
Mm-hmm.
regardless, there's also a preview of the issue on this article. You can check that out if you are a fan of Runaways.
Right.
Next up.
Right. Our next story is pretty much a rehash of what we discussed with regards to Ten of Swords Stasis #1, which is the sword bearers of Araco and Krakoa are essentially assembled for our review in the issue. So you can circle back to what we said about this issue earlier.
Pretty much. Marvel teases the death of a former X-Force leader. Which I don't remember this, but just sure. X Factor #6, and this is coming from the solicitations again, which is coming up. One of which is going to tease the repeated death of former X-Force and X Factor character Teresa.
Runaways was out this week.
Okay, cool.
According to Diamond, Runaways #32 was released this week.
Well, I don't know why I'm pulling it because I still haven't caught up with Runaways, so it's like but yeah.
I was about to say I didn't get my copy this week. I haven't picked up my books yet this week. I'll be picking them up to probably tomorrow. So hopefully my issue of Runaways my copy of Runaways #32 will be there.
I didn't know you were reading it. Nice. But yeah, so Siren, aka Teresa Cassidy, aka Banshee's sister. There apparently the cover is teasing the deaths or the mini deaths of that character, because it can't be a Banshee without some form of death.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, X Factor 6 solicit can be found below. The cover art features Teresa using her signature sonic screen, which is transformed into a skull to represent death. Ooh. So yeah, and then of course there's the little bit from the solicitation on that. But we'll talk about that when we get to that issue when it drops. Next.
Alrighty, next up, Merriam-Webster settles the Cyclops question X-Men fans never thought to ask. Merriam-Webster recently revealed how you should pluralize the name of the infamous X-Men character, Cyclops. Merriam-Webster's official Twitter account shared an article stating that Cyclops pluralized the Cyclopes, Cyclopes actually. You might not think this is an urgent read they added to the post, but what if you get stuck in the X-Men multiverse? Okay.
I mean, you never know. It could happen, Last Action Hero told us otherwise, but then no one's known to the theater, so that's not going to happen. Anyway, a bit of good news good news and some bad news, I guess. Good news is Marvel's Iron Fist returns in 2021 with Larry Hama and David Watcher. To which, being that I had not, and I still had not looked at the solicitations for January, did not know this, and Agent 70 was like, "Yeah, dude, it's in the solicitations. Calm down." He didn't necessarily say it like that, but Danny Rand returns this January in a new limited series, which is the bad news. Iron Fist: Heart of the Dragon, as first reported by Nerdist, and I would say first reported by the solicitations, but that's just me. Someone is killing the ancient dragons that power the heavenly cities, and only Iron Fist and the deadly weapons can stop them. If they can discover who they are in time. Reads the solicitation for the first issue. Zombie armies, mystical portals, which we've had kind of zombie armies this week in Shang-Chi anyway, but mystical portals, not saying that you can't go otherwise. Mystical portals, dragon hearts, and some of Marvel Universe's deadliest fighters all converge in one action-packed extravaganza, and the fate of all worlds hangs in the balance. So I believe this is the Larry Hama has not been back to Marvel in a good while, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, and he's also been very busy on his own with the G.I. Joe stuff going on at IDW.
Right, which he started over at Marvel. So this is cool. I thought this was a cool thing. I hate that it's a limited series, but I understand man's got other things on his plate. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing this come out. Next up.
In interesting news, Lady Deathstrike versus Shang-Chi in a January 2021 title. This was announced in the January solicits as a new one-shot entitled The Legend of Shang-Chi by writer Alyssa Wong and artist Andy Tong. The one-shot pits Shang-Chi, as I said, against Lady D as they vie to seize a magic sword that devours souls. Is Katana somewhere? Alyssa Wong says that she's stoked to write Shang-Chi, and yeah, that's pretty cool. That and obviously there's a good reason why, because there's a movie coming out. They need to prime the pump here.
Of course.
So
that's why we're seeing more Black Widow stuff also.
Yep.
I guess worth noting, Alyssa Wong is currently writing Dr. Aphra, which I would like to catch up on at some point, but I think it does take up after a part after the last volume where I have not caught up on. Oh, yeah, she says here that her first introduction to the character was in War of the Realms, New Agents of Atlas. So she's kind of recent to this joint. But, hey, cool beans. I feel like I've read some of her stuff before, and I'm like, this ought to be a treat. But I don't remember. So, but it's only one shot also. So as we got an ongoing right now, hopefully continues legs.
We just need a new Lady Deathstrike Marvel Legend. Hopefully, it's the old costume and not the movie, black leather costume, which is just overly simplified. So.
You gotta love Agent 70's focus in that whole. That's his takeaway in this whole thing. I mean, I'm not saying it's not true, because yeah, sure, why not? Next up though, let's see, Marvel's 1800s Ghost Rider Sorcerer Supreme Kushala returns in 2021 for a solo title. Marvel's late 1800s era Sorcerer Supreme and resident Ghost Rider Kushala, aka Demon Rider, will be returning in a big way in 2021 with her own solo comic book series. The publisher has announced the Kushala series as a part of the reveal of a variant cover by Jeffrey Verege. Not sure how to pronounce the name. I apologize. For the Native American character to the upcoming Marvel's Voices Indigenous Voices anthology. Marvel has not revealed any details about the 2021 Kushala series. So, for those that don't know, Kushala was a part of that Doctor Strange and the Sorcerer Supreme book from like last year or so. So, yeah, there you go. Next up.
In news related to this week's Fantastic Four Antithesis issue, as Roddykat detailed earlier, a dangerous piece of Fantastic Four history came back.
Well, actually, no. This is more the Doctor Doom. That was Doctor Doom, not Antithesis.
Oh, it was in Doom. I'm sorry.
Right. No,
it was in the Doom issue, right?
Well, it was. We'll get to that. Go ahead and finish it, and I'll get to that.
Right. Well, in 2021, Fantastic Four number 28 is going to herald the return of the Ultimate Nullifier, but apparently it's back in current Marvel continuity.
Right. So last issue of Doctor Doom, issue 7, we found out that Doctor Doom had the Ultimate Nullifier, and he gave it to Victorious. But apparently, as of this week's issue, it, like I said earlier, it went back to its proper owner. So technically, it is coming back, but it was already back because of that. So, like I said, Galactus apparently seemingly got it back this week, but I guess the Fantastic Four are going to regain it and use it some kind of way.
All right.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. Next up, speaking of Doctor Doom, we kind of already talked about this, so there's really no need to talk about it. And that Doctor Doom just conquered a crucial, I don't know about that, Marvel nation, but it's the one that he's been beefing with in the. Well, actually, it wasn't just that, because now that I think about it, I think it got brought up in Spider-Man at some point in the past year or two. But regardless, that's probably part of what Doom has been dealing with, and he just took it over. including the aforementioned Secret Wars vehicle that we talked about earlier. Moving right along.
A new pop for the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show showcases Baron Zemo's comics accurate look. A Twitter account released the first look at the official Baron Zemo Funko Pop. The Zemo Pop is rocking a purple mask, marking the debut of his comic look that we were all looking for in the Age of Ultron movie.
I kind of wonder if it actually is, because this seems like a Funko leak site or something. I don't know. So I don't know if this is.
No, that looks pretty legit.
I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't, but at the same time, we've seen legit stuff that's not true, that's not actual. Also,
no, but what I would say, I think the one thing I would add is that there are some Falcon and Winter Soldier toys coming out.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. We know that for
I
sure.
didn't happen upon I'm talking about in my own trips to Walgreens for other things, not necessarily just Marvel Legends, but I have seen the Mini-Mates.
Right.
I have seen Falcon and Winter Soldier Mini-Mates hit the pegs at Walgreens, so not surprising that these pops would be leaked by someone, because they are probably on their way to be distributed.
Oh yeah, sure, I guess. I mean, yeah, I'm also not saying that it couldn't be from some, legit inside source that just so happened to be leaking the information. But, well, legit is whatever. But some inside source that's leaking it. But it's also, there are some convincing mock-ups out there also. Next up, though, the Punisher Thanos Funko Pop figure has arrived, and you can buy it. So yeah, there is the the Thanos Punisher from Cosmic Ghost Rider is a pop figure now, and you can buy it, and it's $24.99. There you go. Excuse me. Next up.
Earlier this week, Hasbro revealed a lineup of new Star Wars figures for Mando Mondays. Mando! Hasbro introduced a bunch of Mandalorian-inspired products in celebration of Mando Mondays. As we said earlier, the second season of The Mandalorian is going to start tonight/tomorrow. And Hasbro announced several new Mandalorian-based toys.
Is one of them the Darksaber, like Giancarlo Esposito is having in that YouTube image? Because if it is, I would probably buy that.
You'd have to take a look at the video. I don't remember seeing all of it. I do remember seeing, there's some talk online about the face sculpt for Pedro Pascal, for Din Djarin.
Right.
And people kind of objecting to the sculpt.
Okay, I was about to ask if it was good or bad, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at it, I was kind of like, ooh, but it depends on, sometimes it depends on the photographer too, so.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I said, I will probably check it out, and this doesn't necessarily say what in particular the figures are in this article, which is probably a series of other 10 or 11 other articles elsewhere on the site. But on that note, though, I'll take these next two, actually, since they're related. This $160 Mandalorian Xbox controller isn't even made with Beskar steel. Haha. But apparently, well, regardless. So, yeah, there's a Mandalorian sculpted Xbox controller that is out that you can buy, and it has a charger. You can see it in the picture right there if you're watching the video of this here program. It's silverish looking, kind of tarnished looking, because, scuffed as the Mandalorian armor would be after a series of fights. It's a good looking controller. I don't think I would see myself spending $160 for it, regardless of whether it comes with a charger. But it looks good, and it also apparently, according to the next article, has a picture of Baby Yoda on the back of it. So that's all on you if you choose to partake of something. And I know some people out there will. And I don't think this is an Xbox One controller. It's not even. Well, I think you can use the same controllers on the Series XX and Series X. So that's less relevant than I was about to make it. Nevertheless, it's out there. Have at it if you want to. Next.
All right, so you did the Baby Yoda
Yes.
secret. All right, so Baby Yoda is coming to Star Wars Squadrons. Apparently, EA said they weren't going to dribble out new content for Star Wars Squadrons through seasonal updates or DLC. They announced a surprise content update for the game that will add new unlockable items based on the Disney Plus exclusive series The Mandalorian. The update adds 8 new items in total: a hologram, decal, dashboard flare, and hanging flare for each of the Imperial and New Republic factions. And yes, that includes Baby Yoda. Although in a simpler, more bouncy plastic figurine incarnation than the mysterious creature that rides shotgun with Boba Fett on the... with what?
Wait,
Who
is that
wrote
what it really
this?
says? Is that what it actually says?
Who wrote this? Anyway,
It
yeah,
sure
have fun
does.
with,
Oh my god.
have fun with this. No one who's editing this. Who's editing this?
I know,
Over
right?
PC Gamer.
God damn it, man. and obviously
Stop.
the Baby Yoda bauble is not reaching for the radio. Or whatever he was touching originally.
Yeah.
But
I was
also
about to
looks
say,
like it
energy
weirdly
was
looks.
flagging just now, ladies and gentlemen, but now I'm annoyed. If I could reach through my computer and like grab the PC Gamer writer who wrote this and the editor who didn't spot this, I would shake the life out of them.
I love it. I love it. See, and once again, I'm not the only one who gets annoyed at bad editing, so I appreciate this.
It's just bad. This is bad writing. Forget editing.
Nah.
Talk about not researching your.
Well, both, but there's you can share the blame in this. But yeah, but worth noting.
Editing kind of picks up on. It should be picking up on, spelling and grammatical errors.
Well,
this
and
is just
mistakes like this
factual,
too. Come on, you can. Yeah.
This is pure factual, mistake. Purely a factual mistake. Come on, people.
Well, yeah, and that's what editing is also supposed to do. Like, hey, are we,
Sometimes, but like I said, they, the original writer should be picking up on this. Come on, people.
I mean, true. Yeah, like I said, I'm not saying he's blameless in this. But,
this person deserves to be. What's the term that kids use nowadays? Dragged.
Drag him. Anyway, going way too much longer on this than necessary. But yeah, the Baby Yoda figure comes with the little 8-ball thing. That little 8-ball thing that the Mandalorian has.
Andy Chalk, shots fired. Writer of this awful.
Oh wow! See, I wasn't gonna do that.
Shots.
Also,
fired.
it looks like
I'll open up the minigun on you.
Also looks like Baby Yoda's missing his hands, but that's it's just fine. It's not
It's awful.
accurate. Also, EA sometimes lies. Anyway, next up, that's a whole other situation. Deceased finally reveals how a Justice League powerhouse gets infected. And this is a spoiler for Deceased Hope at World's End number 12, which is out this week or last week? I can't remember. Regardless, it doesn't matter. In the first Deceased series, a zombified Martian Manhunter came to the Fortress of Solitude and attacked a bunch of folks. And I believe he ended up tagging the Flash and turned him into a zombie. But we never saw how Martian Manhunter got infected, and apparently, for some reason, the Hope at World's End number 12 sheds light on how that happened, and apparently has something to do with Black Adam. So there you go. Next up, in the fallout of Joker War, there's a lot of stuff happening in Batman's Rogues Gallery, but in a year already shaping up to feature multiple villain civil wars, DC The Doomed and The Damned reveals that another pair of classic villains might also be going to war, namely Ra's al Ghul and Solomon Grundy. Okay. yeah.
So it turns out that the powers of the Lazarus Pit are starting to fade. So Ra's al Ghul is waiting for Grundy to resurrect from his grave, and Raish fears that his mortality might finally be catching up with him, so he comes to try and unlock what makes Solomon Grundy continuously come back to life. Okay.
I mean, clearly this was because he was born on a Monday.
You know?
I mean, clearly. Come on.
So, not sure how that's going to go down. I mean, okay.
Yeah, it seems a little one-sided, but I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, Dick Grayson reunites with his first team in the pages of Nightwing's number 75, which is, I think came out last week.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we all know that Dick Grayson's had his thing. He got shot in the head and survived and became Rick Grayson, and now he's back. And a couple of members of this old Teen Titans team decided to check up on him, and that being Donna Troy and Garth, who is teammates on the original Teen Titans and Titans group. So yeah, there you go. Next.
The new Batgirl that's going to be in the CW's Arrowverse, or the CW, isn't it the CW verse now?
It is now, but I'm still going with Arrowverse. Screw that.
So the new character Ryan Wilder, who's going to be played by Javisha Leslie, taking up Batwoman's cape and cowl, actually was introduced into the DC universe in, I believe it was last week's Batgirl number 50.
This week's.
Is it this week's? Okay,
Yeah,
this week's Batgirl number 50, which revealed that she has a personal connection to Barbara Gordon, the current Batgirl.
Which, if you've seen, and I shouldn't be comparing this to this because it's not necessarily the same, but if you've seen Batgirl, if you've seen that Birds of Prey movie, the Harley Quinn Birds of Prey movie, there is a scene that pretty much seems like it's a similar vein. Put it this way. So, yeah. Basically, Barbara's run across this character in his young wild days. And not to be confused with Van Wilder, by the way. That's a whole nother situation. Or at least we hope not to be. We hope there's no relationship between them and Van Wilder. Anyway, next up, though, DC pushes back Amethyst's final issue even further. DC announced that the sixth and final issue of the miniseries Amethyst, which began its first issue back in February, has received yet another delay. Amethyst's concluding issue from writer-artist Amy Reeder was originally solicited for a release date of September 22nd. That date was then pushed to October 20th, followed by another, which weird, anyway, never mind. Followed by another push to November 24th. So 22nd, 20th, 24th. Next thing you know, it'll be on the 26th. But now DC has confirmed that the latest, or maybe it'll be on, never mind. Let me stop. DC has confirmed that the latest postponement will see the final issue hitting stands on December 1st. And I don't believe there's any real reason as to why it keeps getting pushed. So, okay. Next up.
All right. The world of Sean Murphy's Batman White Knight continues in the latest DC Black Label miniseries. Batman White Knight presents Harley Quinn by Sean Murphy, Katana Collins, and Mateo Scalera. Spoiler alert for the previous volumes. The Joker is dead and Batman behind bars following the events of the recently concluded Curse of the White Knight. Collins and Scalera wanted to weave a more cerebral, deliberately paced narrative than the first two volumes, as Harley became a detective herself. For this change in tone, scope, and pacing, the creative team was influenced by the acclaimed Netflix original series Mindhunter, and they wanted to that they felt like Harley Quinn should be the next Mindhunter. Okay.
So, well, one, I talked about that thing last week. Well, I talked about this last week, so it's less of a spoiler, even though it's more of a spoiler than it is this week. But it is still, I guess, for folks who read it. But you should still read it if you feel that's spoiler, because this and those miniseries are good. I still champion those. Lastly, I will just say that the concept is not necessarily that new, which I totally forgot to mention last week, because a psychiatrist that has had run-ins with the law, working with the police to, on on cases that they have some, you know, that they have some knowledge of. Not a new thing. I'm just going to say we've seen television shows and movies about that, but this is where they went with that. So it is what it is. Next up, Power Rangers unleashes the most sinister Megazord ever. And this is spoilers for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 55, which is out this week, I think. Let's say yes until, sure. Or probably last week. Might have been last week. Regardless, Power Rangers are in for a battle of life and death with Lord Zed's newly crowned Dark Rangers in downtown Aged Grove. And just as the Power Rangers are starting to gain some footing, Zed came down to Earth with a cavalry of evil Pterazords to gift to his Dark Rangers. The Pterazords are having their way with the Power Rangers, and they take measures to finish them off. Once and for all, with their leader Zed watching, the Pterazords have also had the ability to transform and combine with each other, and they do just that to form the Mega Pterazord. So, yeah, that's the thing that's going on in the pages of Power Rangers right at this moment. Next.
Spoiler alert for Avatar. Katara and the Pirates Silver shows off the waterbender's true power. It's no secret that Katara was one of the strongest benders in the world of Avatar, while she's often underrated in light of showier benders like Toph or Azula. The young waterbender proved her... What's that?
Rude. Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
You got me. The young waterbender proved her mastery of the element at the conclusion of Book 1 and had some major moments in Book 3 that proved just how much of a juggernaut force she became over the course of the series. But with the publication of her solo adventure, Katara and the Pirate Silver, it turns out that Katara may have progressed far faster than anyone realized. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of did Katara dirty in Avatar. And Toph is not sure. We stand Toph, or I stand Toph. Zula, she is what she is. You should. I'm going to say it again. You should watch Avatar. That's all I'm saying. It's pretty good. It's got at the end. It kind of does some things that's kind of like the couple characters get shorted. But overall, it's pretty good. Anyway, but yeah, the good. Yeah, they kind of did Katara dirty in the end. Anyway, Blade Runner Origins explores the beginnings of the Blade Runner division. And by the way, Avatar is the last Endbender series is on Netflix. But yeah, Titan Comics and Alcon Media Group will launch Blade Runner Origins on February 24th. Set 10 years before Blade Runner 2019, Origins follows LAPD Detective Cal Moreau as he's investigating the apparent suicide of a senior bioengineer for the Tyrell Corp. Found hanging in her sealed laboratory, the bioengineer's suicide doesn't sit right with the detective. Dr. Tyrell's... Wait, that should be Tyrell. That's a misspelling, folks. Replicant Empire hides a dark conspiracy, one that Moreau's investigation is leading him towards. So, check it out if you're a Blade Runner fan. Next
up, Hellboy has a long history in comics, but it's one that's splintered. Tales that dip in and out of timelines and jump around his history of fighting to keep his adopted home safe from the supernatural. IO9 has an exclusive first look at Dark Horse's new Hellboy Universe Essentials series, a collection of trade paperbacks that gathers the must-read stories from across the history of Mike Mignola's iconic demonic antihero, designed to offer the quintessential Hellboy experience for newcomers. Essentials will be a 4-part series highlighting short stories from across 4 key corners of the Hellboy comics universe. Let's see how much this might be. The Essentials line will kick off with Hellboy Universe Essentials Hellboy in July 2021, with each entry in the collection costing $15. That seems to be reasonably priced.
Sure. Why not? Next up, though, Jeff Lemire and Jacques team up for mystery title Snow Angels. pardon me, writer Jeff Lemire and artist Jock have teamed up to create a Comixology original comic book series titled Snow Angels, which will debut in 2021. And that's literally all the information the creators and publishers have released. And I assume in this case, literally is used actually. Because, boy, that's a crawl on my side. Anyway, Lemire, Jock, and Comixology each simply tweeted a teaser video showing a hand, presumably Jock's hand showing hand drawing the Snow Angels logo, along with some music. No art has been shown or synopsis given by the publishers or creators. Next.
There's more?
Yeah, there's a couple more on the other. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. No, well, technically that is actually it for the news. But I was going to mention a couple of the variant corner stuff. So I don't worry about it, because all I'm going to say is hey, there's some Aliens Marvel variants that you may want to check out that's coming. Marvel versus Alien variants, and a lot of that's come out of the solicitations. And there's also a story on a couple of people who are doing King in Black #1 variant covers. One of which, now that I think about it, has just been shown. The Peach Momoko cover was shown recently. I think today I saw it out on Twitter. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, there you go. But that's not that important. But we are at the end of the news, and therefore at the end of the show. As I put this back to a thing. One more ad read for you, sir?
Sure. Our last ad read of the night is for Wink, the personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torronté, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your tastes and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off, and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink Wines through CSPN. Do it today.
And as we end another episode of this here Comic Book Chronicles, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming out. I, myself, have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 you can find on Twitter and Instagram. Go check out his Inktober stuff that he's still doing.
Yeah, it'll wrap up this week.
Yep, indeed. And, well, I'll get to that in a second because I'm probably sure I won't forget this. But you can also find PCN_dirt. Thank you. There you go. Do it again. That's right. Give yourself some extra props there. Matter of fact, give yourself a clap, man. Some claps. Okay.
Hold on. It's getting there.
I'm bringing this on him.
I don't know why.
There we go.
I'm getting some lag here, so.
Yeah, I'm hearing it. But so let us push this along before something drastic happens. PCN_dirt on Twitter, PopCultureNet on Twitter, PopCultureNetwork.com, and all those umbrella sites therein. I'm guessing he's still doing the Vine Alternative Byte, BYTE, under comic reviews, no vowels. I
guess so.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to either check or ask, one of the two, regardless. The Osiris of this ish, Tim DOGG98 on Twitter, The Click Nation on Twitter. That's DKLIQNATION. Also theclicknation.com, but also CB Cron. That's the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account. You should go check us out. Check them out there. Check us out there also, because we see the stuff that sometimes gets put over there. Sometimes it even gets relayed to us, depending on. But yeah, check that out right there. And also on Comic Book Resources, where Tim is over there writing his face off. Indeed, as Savala would say. Anyway, you can find this here podcast on the Coastal of the Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
See, I'll just trip myself up at that one. You can also find this here podcast on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal of the Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. But you can also find us here every Thursday night. That may or may not, be an asterisk on that in the next coming weeks or so. But we'll see about that. But you can find us here every Thursday night, 9:30ish p.m. on either the YouTube channel of the Click Nation. That's youtube.com/theclicknation. Or you can also find us streaming in both that place or Twitch, which is twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles, all one word. And of course, the audio will come out here on the aforementioned CSPN, around Saturday to Sunday-ish, but stay tuned for that to our Twitter accounts for that. And with that, we will leave you for now, and I will say, because it is the 30th, Happy Halloween!
Yes, happy Halloween. We are now on the eve of Halloween.
Yes, Halloween Eve, as some would say. But also, in a few short hours, the Mandalorian will be upon us as of this recording, because it's like a little after 12.
Absolutely.
So, hey, stay tuned for that, and we'll probably will be mentioning it, at least the first episode of it, next week's show. No spoilers, obviously, but we'll see what we see. On that note, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles.
Say, hold on. Before we wrap the show this week, please make sure you go out and vote.
Oh, yes.
May not be lucky enough to have Paul Rudd hand you a cookie like some people here in Brooklyn were at the Barclays Center, which was a polling place. Apparently, he was out there handing out cookies to people who were coming out after voting. So can't be not everyone can be lucky like that.
Well, that was nice of him. I didn't see that.
But yeah, just make sure you get out, make a plan to get out and cast your vote. It's getting late. By the time you hear this show, it might be too late for early voting. So if you have missed your window for early voting, make sure that you do your best to stay safe, be socially distant, and go out to the polls on Tuesday.
Absolutely.
But if you do get this in time, if you listen to this ahead of time, and you're able to vote early, please do, and stay safe.
Yes, if it is still valid, and you can check vote.org or vote.org and other places.
Check your local board of elections for the rules and hours surrounding your local polling place.
Absolutely, but definitely vote. So, but in that case, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
Wakanda forever!